And Jill put a healthy happy hour. So that's great. List those in the comments. Go ahead, Barb.
Yeah. Okay. So first, I just want to congratulate some of the new rank advancements. First and foremost, Rebecca Peel for hitting executive last week. You guys, I'm not even kidding you. Like, this woman has a vision, and she was on a mission. Like, we talked at the beginning of the week, and I think there was one consultant, she's like, I'm at 4, I think I can hit director. And I was like, director? You're going to executive. And I'm not even kidding you. 2 days later, she was at director. I'm like, let's sprint to executive. Friday, she hit executive. It was not even like a Sunday night, like crunch time. Like, we all know what Sunday night crunches are like. But this girl, I'm so crazy proud of you, Rebecca. Just so much love and admiration for you and this amazing team that you're creating. So huge shout out to Rebecca. We also have some new consultants. Boomer, her husband. Yes, they call him Boomer. Sarah Kennison, Jennifer Niemer, and Kelly Ryan. So huge congratulations to those new consultants as well. And then just a reminder for NYKO, we have NYKO, and I don't even know how many days it is, but if we are complaining about this weather right now, you have no excuse than to get your butt to Phoenix in January. I mean, that's literally what I say. When Allison invited me to my first event, it was Miami in February. I think literally that's why I said yes, because I'm like, okay, Miami, February for sure. So get your butt to Phoenix. That's all I have to say on that. So, okay. So this call kind of spurred from a conversation that Allison and I were having last week at the shop. And I was planning on, we were going to do like a Q&A session here, but I just told her like everything that she was saying as we were sitting at coffee like last week. I just said, Allison, our entire team needs to hear this. And so we're going to kind of I'm going to be kind of like interviewing her, but it's really just to probe her on the questions that she was just sitting across from me talking about. And so just imagine us, we're all sitting at a coffee table right now, but think of this as this can be you sitting across from somebody at a coffee table too. So first, she always told me about executive. Set your goal on executive. And I just want to, ask Allison, like, why do we say that? Why, like, what's the importance always of getting to executive? We hear it all the time, but I would just love Allison to share kind of her 2 cents on why executive is so important to be at.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. Thank you, Barbie. And yeah, I feel like, okay. So, and also to preface this, like these messages are mainly for people that consider themselves like a business builder. Like if you're raising your hand and you want to be a builder, or you're like, yes, I want this, like my messages today are mainly for that. If you consider yourself a product sharer, we honor that. That's cool. That's awesome. And listen in, because you may end up having a business builder pop up on your team. But know that like that's cool. If you're like, well, I'm a sharer, does this apply to me? Like maybe not. Like we can kind of talk through that on an individual basis. But I know there are so many people right now raising their hands to be a builder. And so when I think about executive, you guys, there's a few reasons why I think it's so key. One is because you're going to then create depth in your organization. It's that whole concept of duplication. And because not every single consultant that you flip is going to stick. In truth, we have turned 38 consultants and we consistently have 12 to 15 consultants. So right in that number. And I know that may sound like, crap, I gotta get 38. No, what I want you to think of is this is a journey. We've been doing it for 5 years. Some people do, the numbers are going to be different for everyone, but I think it helps for people to say, okay, if I have that big, bold vision, like Barbie just talked about Rebecca's big, bold vision, or you're like, I want to make, I know there was just a post about us making $19,000 in a month. Like those things happen because of the depth and the business that we truly are building on stone with duplication, not just sand, but stone. Like I have my guiding principles are like strong, deep roots built on stone. And So there's just that whole aspect of duplication, because you never know who's going to pop up in your organization. And the cool thing about the comp plan is that if you run to executive, even if you have some, sometimes I hear people say, well, I don't really think they're going to be like, they're okay. You don't know who they're going to bring in. Like, you don't know who's going to show up in your organization just by treating every single person as, you can go after this and let's get you paid and let's focus on the wealth opportunity. And then, we'll see what they do. Not all of our biggest, builders are personally enrolled. They don't have to be. That's what's so cool about this comp plan. Aside from that, the money, so the matching cycles that you get every single week, you're personally enrolled, you do get 10% of a match off of. And I figured it out. Last year, we made about $20,000 between matching cycles and leadership pools, which you don't have to understand the ins and outs of leadership pools until you're in a situation like Rebecca, where now we can talk about that. It's relevant, right? Just know that there's money there. So $20,000 last year. This year, I think we're on track for about $30,000 just for executive money. And I track that stuff because I want to know, some weeks it's like, oh, well, it's 4 extra cycles, 5 extra cycles. That stuff adds up over time if you're making every single week plus the pools the months that your benches are growing, So I also know there are some of you on here who are like, oh, my business, executive, it feels so far, or it feels so like I'm so demotivated because I cannot get to executive. It's hard to even build a couple. Like, I do want you to shift your story. It took me that first year, if you guys would have seen me, none of you on this call were like at least working closely with me that first year. I was a mess. Like, I really was. It took me, I'll say 5 months to get to 2 consultants. My very first 2 consultants, 5 months. Executive, it took me 9 months. And if I look at those first 10 consultants, a lot of them since have fallen off. And that's okay. But it's like, there's so many people who are like so motivated to do this. And I just really want to stress the importance of having that long-term vision and looking down to the depth of your left leg and your right leg all the time, because we all build 2 legs. Barbie, do you want to? I can stop that.
One of the things that I think you talked about is like in the beginning, like maybe it for you, you're a product sharer and somebody on your team wants to run to executive. It's really hard to coach someone and mentor someone on that run to executive if you haven't done it. And so, yes, I've pretty much ran 4 people to executive. It's because I know the struggle. Like, it's a mess. You're frantically like, you need a little BB here. You need this person to call consultant. You need this person to reorder. But like, in order to help somebody run to executive, you yourself need to be able to go through it. And even if you're linking arms with somebody to go through it together, that's awesome. But like, that just shows the importance of like, yeah, you may not feel like you could run to it, but somebody on your team may come in and really want it. And so that gives you the opportunity to like run them to executive, but at the same time, run yourself to executive. So that's one thing that.
Yes. No, I meant to add that part. That's good. That's why we're doing an interview style.
Yes.
Because it's true. Like, you may, and we all want that next person. It's like, oh, if that person would come in that just wants executive. It's like, so for you to, and it's okay if it feels far off, just take it step by step, break it down. What do you need to do this week? What do you need to do today? Heidi Fisher had an amazing call over the lunch hour today. She talked about, she's not personally enrolled by Emily and Hayden. She's their 4 PET, so 4 levels deep, but one of their early builders, and is now a 4-star. And she and her husband do this full time. And she talked about getting coached by Hayden that first year, and that every week in their check-in, Hayden would say, our focus is going to be 2 enrollments and 1 new consultant, 2 enrollments and 1 new consultant. And they would check in on it. And she's like, every single week she's like, most weeks, did I hit it? No. But the weeks I did, we celebrated it. And every week it held me accountable and he didn't say, well, you should have. No, it wasn't shame. It was, okay, well, what did you do this week that was good? And what can you do next week that is better? And so 2 enrollments, 1 consultant, 2 enrollments, 1 consultant. You know, if that sort of a structure works, that I think is honestly awesome, because imagine over a year focusing on that and actually being able to celebrate that as you go, you know, it breaks it down. So that, you know, what I would say to that.
I love that. And right. I mean, meet where your energy is, you know, like if that fits a right thing for you, then that's where you start, and that's where you start your people. So I would always just ask for their permission as like, does this feel comfortable to you? Like if I set this goal for you, is that comfortable for you? So I love that.
And along with that, the clue, I'm always listening for clues. So the clue that Heidi's like, we're there for PET. And I wanted to build, and my enrolling sponsor wasn't doing anything, and her enrolling sponsor wasn't doing anything. And Emily Hayden reached out to me. All of a sudden I get a call. She's like, I don't even know. They weren't even, you know, they were like maybe 1 star. I don't know. And she was like, I'm Emily Vavra. We want to, you know, like we want to reach out and help you build your business, you know? And she's like, I didn't know who they were. And then through that, you know, Emily would like start to say things like, okay, you know, got to get you to celebration, got to get, you know, like one-on-one coaching. And so it's like, who's showing up in your organization on either side that you can really work with to get there. It's the power of finding the people that want it. The people are there.
Yeah. And that kind of is like a perfect segue into the next section that we wanted to talk about, was really about positioning on your tree. So no matter where you are, everybody has 2 legs. And I think we in this group often see Jake and Allison at the top of the tree, just because this is their business group. You know, there's a couple different little business groups all tied into Leaders Rise here. But what I would love for Jake and Allison to show is truly where they're positioned on Amanda's tree and Rachel's tree and the Dickerhoves, you know, like everybody has 2 legs. So if you just want to kind of walk us through, like I said, this is going to be raw and real. Like I want to see it. And I think everybody wants to see it too.
Yeah,
so
totally. Okay.
Your position.
Totally. Okay. So, and this, you guys, I think is very important to grasp, because I do hear, and it's a very sensitive subject. I get it. Like there, you could be coming in with the whole bunch of people that are there. You could be coming in with no one. In truth, so Matt and Amanda enrolled us, and they built to executive, and they went, you know, right, left, whatever, right, left. And they enrolled, you know, Casey Graving, Christine Brennan, Sarah Jackson, Freya, Krista, and then us. And they did not put another consultant under us on that leg. So they're, you know, they're at executive. We're like the consultant here. Some of you are in a similar position. Some of you are not. Some of you are in, you know, so I completely 100% honor and nod to, you know, so Heidi and Brian came in because Freya enrolled Katie Wagner, who enrolled Heidi and Brian. And Jill Hodajek came in because Casey enrolled her. So a couple of you on the call, for sure, like there is that whole like team aspect, but I think sometimes people think, oh, well, they were enrolled by Amanda, so of course. No, like look at the, I just want people to grasp, like I never really, when you look at their top cycler list, you know, it's like Jen Byer and Julie Coughlin and us, and then, you know, and they're on the other side. So it's like you literally can outpace the people that are sitting above you on the position. Like, and I always like when you really grasp that, like you can't control where you're at. And I have been very raised that way. Like I always said, what can I control? I can control running to executive. I mean, you can't control the individual people, but you can control your actions every day. You can control how many times you share the story. You can control your reach outs and your conviction statements. You know, Laura Stevens did that amazing Facebook Live in Ice Strength Business talking about having a conviction statement. I think that's something that I really want to like visit with people. My conviction statement. I really think Isogenics can, you know, free me from my day job. And some people looked at me like I was crazy, and some were like, "Oh, Barbie, oh well, I want in. How do we do that?" You know, like. But having that conviction, I can control that. You can't control, you know, and then, so there are people who, I mean, I totally Some people on here will never have, you know, like their enrolling sponsor isn't ever going to put someone below them, but that doesn't matter. Like building those two legs, right, left, right, left, right, left, you don't know who's going to show up. And the way I've always thought about this is if something happens to come from above, sure, it's like a little kiss. It's like a little blessing that drops in. But is it the standard? No. I've seen every single situation, truly every single situation on this call. It's probably 50-50 of having that. And you get to build those two legs. And our two legs flip-flopped. So, you know, you could say like, oh, well, she has this shared leg with Amanda. Well, they flip-flopped for 2 years. They switched, you know, and that's all based on the business and the leaders that you get to bring in, or the leaders that they get to bring in, or the leaders that they get to bring in. So does it really matter if so-and-so is dropped in, or if, you know, someone that we enroll, Lauren Anderson, enrolls Lisa Campbell? You know, does it matter if Lauren came from above, or does it matter that I enrolled Lauren Anderson, who you guys don't know, who enrolled Lisa Campbell? Like, because of the way that it's built, you know? And so everyone has two legs. Like, I just don't want people to spend the time focusing on that when they could be spending the time doing like the reach outs and creating, you know, practicing their story and writing out the comp plan and setting up coffee dates and all of those things. Because I really didn't spend a lot of time thinking about that, you know? And then, you know, then our business flip-flopped back. And some of that, I mean, it's going to depend on, you know, I mean, you see our
explain
leaderboards.
what flip-flop means?
Yeah, totally. So for a long time, we pulled 600 from the right leg and 300 from the left leg. And then a day came where all of a sudden I was like, you know, so it was always like, oh, needed cycles, you know, BV needed. And it was like on the left, 300, 300, 300. And then I was like, oh my gosh, we're out of it. Now we need like 540 on the other leg. Are you kidding me? Flip-flopped. You know, so then all of a sudden by the day, some BV came from the left, some came from the right. And, you know, then it was like, okay, so who do we have and where are they and how can we help them grow? And then, you know, different promotions. Boom in June happened. Molly Terlinden did awesome at Boom in June. Gretchen Heinen, Heidi and Brian, awesome at Boom in June. You know, different things happen. And then, you know, different teams within your org. But this is what I want you guys to do. I want you to look at your tree and look down and say two legs, two teams. Lori Sherman says two long, sexy legs, you know, and then it's like, you know, Barbie's team goes. They're on the, you know, other side. It's like, okay, so now Rebecca, Trisha, you know, different thing. Emily and Rachel, when Emily Jackson and Rachel Swanson within the same month hit exact 2-star, you know, different. I mean, it's like, okay, that's so cool. Like, it's so cool, but you have to, yes, Gretchen, this year. Sorry, I was referring to last year. Yes, they totally, the One Sweet Summer. Yeah. Danny and Courtney this year. So, I mean, different promos and different things and different people are going to like glom on. But if all you have right now is you can run. You can, how many times can you share the story? If all you have right now is 1 or 2 people that aren't even your personally enrolled, you can run with them. Run with them and share the story and help them. And then keep, you know, it's just like how many enrollments, how many rank advancements, how many enrollments, how many rank advancements. And Heidi and Brian, since Heidi's not sitting there, I'm guessing Brian wrote it. The other reason you want to run is no matter where you start, the day will come when you need both. That is 100% true. Barbie can attest to that. You know, Barbie used to have a big leg where we put it. She no longer has that. She pulls from both sides. That happens. And so then it's like, okay, should I be focusing on both all the time? Yes. And we've had conversations, you know, if you always are focused on both from the get-go, you always sort of have this ownership. You don't have to go through this like, holy crap, now I all of a sudden have to like generate, and all of a sudden you care about the 600 every time a little more than you used to, or a lot more than you used to, you know? So yeah, Gretchen has always pulled from both sides, and that's awesome because then she never has that big shocker. She has said that, you know? Julie Coughlin went through that. I ran out of my bank. Oh, what do I do? I ran out of my bank. And Gretchen said to her, gosh, I really am glad I've always pulled from both sides because then you don't have to, it's like, no, 2 long, sexy legs. If you get a little kiss from above, great. If you don't, that is okay. That is more than okay. Never once have I said, gosh, I wish Matt and Amanda put a consultant under us. I have, of course, we all like picture these things, but Mackenzie Arbaugh was just posted in Start Today. She made like $18,000 last week. She said that she's always built both legs, like 18,000 last week, and she said, and I want you to get that. I've watched her. She said her very first year was very lonely. She was living at her parents' house in Michigan. Her husband was deployed, and she would fight for every single cycle. So I want you to hear her story at the beginning. Fight for every single cycle, lonely, husband deployed, living with her parents. You see the 18,000 week, but it's the persevering and it's the pushing through and it's the actions and it's not caring so much about the things you cannot control in this business. What else, Barbie? What am I missing?
No, I love that. And I think too, whether you have banked BV or not banked BV, like you just have to focus on both legs. Whether you put people there or not, embrace everyone as a part of your team. Everyone. Even if, we're all like, there's a bunch of different little products, there's a bunch of different like business groups. Embrace everyone as a part of your team, because that creates this amazing community that people are drawn to. That's why I truly believe that we in Isagenix, I will tell you, not every single team in Isagenix has a community like we have. Like that makes us very unique. But I think it's because we embrace everyone as one team. Like I will do a three-way call for Gretchen at any point in time, ever, like always. I will always be available for her because I knew she would do the same for me. And we are not financially tied. And so for every product group that you have, every business group that you have, treat it as one team, because you have no idea how much value you give somebody else will come back tenfold for you. And so like embrace everyone as your team. If you find somebody down there and you didn't put them there, but that's your leg where you have banked BV, let's say, who cares? That bank BV will go away. I will tell you that. It will go away. It went away in my instance. It went away in Allison's. Like, yes, I want to be sensitive. There are people that don't have that, but that bank BV will go away. If you are seriously about building this business, it will go away. And then you're going to be wanting to pick up all those people that are down there and help anyone. So if you start with that mentality to go, that you're going to pick up anyone and help anyone out, it won't be so foreign to you, or that won't be that big of a shock to you when that bank BV goes away and you all of a sudden need to start picking up those people. No, you should have been loving on them in the first place. So that's just kind of my little preach.
That is,
I felt like my dad right there.
That is really, really good. And yeah, people are commenting about it, about how cool our team is for that. The boomerang effect is real. And, the whole boomerang effect of like what you put out there, you will come back to you tenfold. And you don't even have to know it. You can just expect that it will. Like I see it time and time again. And then I will also say, even if you're like, well, I don't really need BV there right now, or you feel like you might not ever, like if there is someone that wants to run with you to executive and you both run to executive, don't just chase the BV. Like how powerful is it that all of a sudden you and this person are executive, and guess what's going to happen? People are going to raise their hands just mentally watching you do it and say, gosh, I want to do that. They just did that. I can do that. Like even if it never results because your leg has so much BV, which sometimes that happens, so also just the morale of creating a culture of rank advancing. And that's one of the things that we really want to like hone in on heading to 2019. And that's part of why, I feel like the first half of the year was like gangbusters rank advancements. So I totally see that, but I also want to say like, we don't just rank advance for the BV. It's also because it's very, it's very cool to see that success and that growth. And then what you said also, I know like a good example, like Ashley Lubes, for example, like Rebecca enrolled. Yeah, I'll get to the question. Rebecca enrolled. Okay, I was actually talking about Ashley, and then I just read she posted a question, unrelated. But Rebecca enrolled Leanne, and Ashley pours into Leanne just as much as though she's her own, right? So they, it's also like work together with your people. So don't just like, to Ashley's question, people you didn't enroll. So does the person get freaked out? Honestly, Jill Hodajek right here, sitting on my screen, is a great example. She showed up in my tree, you guys. I reached out to her and said, you're doing awesome things. Like, how are you? What's going on? And it was not weird. Was it weird, Jill? Maybe she'll say it was weird. But
it wasn't weird. I was like, who is this lady? No.
For real. And her cousin is Casey Graving, an awesome leader, you know, like, but I mean, what, like, just from your perspective, and be honest, like, was like,
I thought it was really helpful. And then because then we were friends, and it just gave me someone else to reach out to. And I've been able to use you for 3-way calls and just kind of follow your story too. And at that time, I was super new to the business. And so I didn't have a lot of Facebook friends or Instagram friends that were part of Isogenics. So I wasn't seeing a lot of posts being shared other than Casey or Amanda. And so it gave me a bigger variety of things to look at and other people sharing.
Yeah.
Love it. One of the things I would say to that too, so like there's one thing like I think of like if you're loving on people from a product perspective, or if you're loving on people from a business perspective, if you yourself are active in your product group and you are showing up, you're adding content, you're adding value, and then you reach out to somebody organization, they will automatically think of you and be like, oh yeah, I've seen Ashley posting in Everyday Health or Be Healthy or whatever it may be. So they're automatically going to think of you as a leader and be like, oh, that's really cool that she reached out to me. I mean, I can't even count how many people I have reached out to in my team if their enrolling sponsor isn't building a business or just casually shared with them and they're still using the products. I reach out to them and they're like, oh my goodness, that's so thoughtful that you reached out to me. Like, I just ask them how they're liking things. And like, I just say, I'm so glad that you're still liking the Be Healthy community. Like, I want to make sure that we're adding value. Is there any questions? Like, I want to make sure I'm here as a resource for you. Mm-hmm. And so I think if you just put yourself out there and add value to them, not like you're saying, are you willing to, you know, start this business or anything like that? Like, just show love on them. And that's from like a product standpoint. But if somebody, you know, asks questions or, you know, something like that about the opportunity, I will just love on them and I'll ask them, I'm like, I'm always here if you want to like ever learn more about it. I would love to show you how to like earn an income with this or earn a couple extra $100 a month for this, you know? So like, I always like tell them that I'm available if and when they're ready so that you don't feel like you're pushing on them, but you're just there to like love and support them wherever they're at. If it's products, great. If it's business, great. I can run with both.
Totally. Yeah, 100%. And Tessa said this. Tessa's example, it's a great example too. So Jill showed up on my ISOPulse, maybe enrolled like 1 or 2 people. And, you know, you can see who they were. I was like, oh, enrolled by Casey Graving. Cool. And I just reached out and was just like, congrats. That's awesome. If someone has a weird situation, if they're weird about it, which I would say 95% of the time they're not weird about it, but if they are, I literally would just kill them with kindness and say, awesome, great. Hope you continue to have a great week. Glad you're getting the support you need. I'm always here should you change your mind that you know, like, that's cool. Like, no big deal. But that is also like creating a story. Sometimes, you know, a story like Lisa, and I will get back to your question. Tessa had added someone to Everyday Health. And I knew she was enrolled by Naomi, who has done big things with this business, just wasn't at the time. And so even just after an ad to our product group, I was like, hey, you know, I see that you've added someone to the group, and she had not enrolled anyone yet. And I was like, I would love to get on a call. You know, do you want to learn about, like, I would love to, you're loving the products. Yeah, I'm loving the products. Okay, I'd love to show you how to get them paid for. Would you be open? We literally hopped on Facebook video, and I drew out You Share, They Share for her. And I said, if you could replace, you know, and these are great people to almost like, sorry, Tessa, you weren't practice with because you don't know them. You know? And so I literally was like, if you could replace any bill, what bill would you replace? And she said, my dance bill. You know, I pay X amount for my daughter's dance. I was like, gosh, okay. She told me she had done Mary Kay in the past. Like, all these things came out. You guys, she came to ICU Minneapolis when it was in town. So you just never know. And I mean, part of the reason we want to do this, it's like, let's make sure everyone in all of our organizations are being touched on. And some of you are doing that, like, for sure, you got it covered. And then there are other places where I think it's like, okay, let's like, and you just in that, you know, just do it and do it and do it. And then you're not going to feel like you're just building as one for so long, forever, you know? I mean, you're rubbing those rocks together. So yeah, Gretchen put a good comment in there. Lots of comments about her growth, but then also just saying, hey, this is Gretchen. I'm in Isogenics and I wanted to say congrats for blank. People love to be congratulated and feel, you know, that recognition, you guys, in people's lives is not that common. And then I love Brian's comment about people are looking for a home too. So wherever they go with it, I just want to empower you guys to look at your 2 legs. Most companies build 6 legs, 8 legs. They cut off. If they're your, you know, if that, like, there's so many things and we just have so much opportunity here. And I want you to think about that with your build. And then Lisa Campbell, the shifting your story question. So we all tell each other ourselves, we all tell ourselves, you know, stories like, well, I'm in this position, so I'll never be successful. Or if only I had X, then I could do this. Or if only I, you know, and so it's like, I don't know, and Jake could even jump in, or Barbie. But it's like being able to shift how you're thinking about it and let that go and say, you know what, I actually have this and this and this trait. I mean, you come from an education background. This business is highly about educating. So what is it that you do have, not what you don't have? And what is it that you do bring? You know, you're from Gilbert, Arizona. Like, you can tell people about headquarters firsthand and your story. So not your Isogenic story, but these like tapes that we keep replaying in our head that are holding us back and limiting ourselves. You know, like, how do you change that tape? And some of it's personal development. Some of it's like affirmations. If anyone else wants to chime in, that would be cool too. But that's when I think about shifting your story, and I know we're slightly over time here, but when I think about shifting your story, I mean, I've had to do it with certain things, you know, like, I'm trying to think of what I've had to shift.
One thing I would say is, like, when you say that, I can't, like, none of my product users want to share, like, rephrase that story. Say, like, I have amazing product users. I'm super excited. I have such amazing product users. Now my focus is going to be really focusing on changing my branding to really attract people that are going to be interested and attracted to this income opportunity. So, like, instead of saying, like, my product users won't share, celebrate your product users. We love our product users. But say, okay, now I'm going to really focus on bringing people who are interested in the income. Or if you say, like, I just can't create consultants, you know, no. Like, we talk about, like, the Peter Kelly, like the script. Like, if anybody was at, what was it, Celebration? New Year's kickoff last year, where she talked about, like, the script, like, rewrite that script of, like, I attract consultants, creating consultants is easy, you know, rephrase that, because the more you say, I can't create consultants, your unconscious mind cannot tell if that's real or if that's fake. So it's just going to think you cannot create consultants. So rephrase that in your head and just focus on, like, I'm attracting business builders. I'm attracting people who love this product and want to share this product.
Yeah. And I think Healthy Mind and Body would help a lot with that. If you haven't done that yet, it's almost just like reframing. What you focus on expands, and what you focus on seems real, and what you focus on you find. Like, they talk, you know, so it's like if you're saying consultants are hard, that will expand, and that will always expand. And I could have said that the first year. I really could have. But I was always like, I am a master at this. No, I mean, and you may feel that it's silly when you're saying it at first. But then over time, Gretchen's doing it for her 3rd time. Yeah, I mean, there's so much goodness in there. So does that help, Lisa? Good. We can always go into more of it. And I totally realize we're at time, but are there any, like, other final questions? Or Barbie, did we kind of?
Yeah, no, that was really good. I think it was really about the importance of executive and setting that standard, and doing the race so you can run others, and then position, no matter your position, build those 2 sexy legs and focus and looking down and embracing everyone as this whole, like, one team vision. Because that's what I truly think what makes Isogenics unique. So no, We hit it all. I love it.
Good.
And that was literally what our coffee date was earlier this week.
Yeah, you wonder what we talk about when we meet? We talk about stuff like that. But, and product groups and business groups, like you own those too. So you have your legs and then you have your groups, whether you started the group or not. Like, I love it when, you know, Teresa went live the other day in the group and I was like, awesome, yes, just go live. Like, if you have something to share, use those groups as your own. Like, it's so good. And we do have something special here. So thank you, Barbie, for bringing up this topic.
Yes. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Awesome. If we missed a question, just let me know. Reach out. Bye, everyone. Congrats, Rebecca.